Article 6 is an article in the United Nations Charter, which allows for any member of the United Nations to be expelled as a member from the United Nations if they are found to have been persistently violating the principles and values of the Charter. And I think, objectively speaking, we can't say that there's any member of the United Nations that has done that more persistently than the United States. So there's every reason and every justification for invoking Article 6 against the United States. Now, there's the obvious question, the most obvious and first question that would come up is that the United States would instantly veto any such vote to invoke Article 6 against them. However, the Charter also prohibits the United States from voting in any action, any suggested action that involves them. So they must abstain according to the protocols of the United Nations. So they won't have a vote in that, even on the Security Council. Now, on the Security Council, the two countries that are the most likely to support the United States with the United States having to abstain, there's two countries, the United Kingdom and France, that are obviously going to support the United States unless they have been heavily and convincingly lobbied to either abstain from the vote or to vote positively for the invocation of Article 6. Otherwise, you have Russia and China. So we're pushing for the invocation of Article 6 at the United Nations against the U.S. However, we are realistically viewing this more as a way to launch a discussion about the way the United Nations works and the way the Security Council works and the way the veto power works, basically questioning the integrity of the United Nations system as a whole and getting a discussion to take place that otherwise is not happening. Pushing for something like this also goes in line with what the BRICS countries and the Global South countries are already doing, which is essentially trying to create a parallel system of international relations that is being overseen by the BRICS organization of countries, and it's growing. As we know, BRICS is growing in its membership quite rapidly, and every time they expand their membership, they increase their resources and assets by orders of magnitude. So I believe that if a vote for invocation of Article 6 were to be only done by the General Assembly, I think it's a given what the outcome would be. I think that 150 something other countries are tired of having no actual say in what happens at the United Nations or what the decisions are at the United Nations, and they're tired of being vetoed by the United States. And I think that it's also the perfect time for this because precisely because of the situation in Gaza, because we're seeing now the United States is the only reason why a ceasefire is being prevented by vetoing calls for a ceasefire. And we can tie that back into the fact that every year, annually, the United Nations holds what amounts to a symbolic vote calling for the return of Israel to the 1967 borders, the establishment of a Palestinian state, the right of return of refugees, the end of illegal settlement expansion, and so on. And every time they make that vote, the United States votes against it. So we can say honestly that the entire problem, the Israel-Palestine conflict, has been kept alive by the exclusion of the international community, the actual global international community, and not just what the West regards as the international community, which is just themselves. So, and with the United States, of course, as the leader of determining who is and who isn't part of the international community. And it excludes basically all of the nations of the world from having any say, particularly also with the current International Criminal Court proceedings on the genocide and the decision that who knows when that will come about. But the point is, it has been made. The point is that now Israel has been accused and evidence has been put on record to verify and to confirm that they are guilty of genocide, and they're being supported by the United States. And any effort to prevent the genocide is being overruled by the United States, sitting on the UN Security Council. So we have a very strong basis for bringing this case and for raising this call for the invocation of Article 6. What we're essentially really pushing for is a reform of the United Nations and the way it works, because obviously the United States is going to object to it being expelled from the UN, and this will make potentially, inshallah, this will cause considerable scrutiny over why we've made the call in the first place. In other words, the entire record of United States violations of the UN Charter will be called into question and brought to the light of day, whereas now they are put in the shadows. So that's the basic campaign. We're starting, inshallah, on a grassroots level, trying to get the call raised at any and every pro-Palestine march, rally, protest, demonstration all around the world, calling for the invocation of Article 6 and the expulsion of the U.S. from the UN. Put it in the public discourse where it hasn't been there before, so that we can stir the conversation and stir the discussion. We need articles that will discuss and that will elucidate the long litany of violations by the United States, that can maybe analyze the functioning and the operation of the UN, and maybe take particular historical examples of where the U.S. violated the UN Charter, where it ignored the UN. Take a particular example and then drill down on that example and look at what were the ramifications and the repercussions and the consequences of that violation, how much harm was done, and how many countries in the world tried to prevent it by their vote that got vetoed. You know, we have something like, it's close to 100 uh, close to 100 times that the United States has exercised the veto power, and most of those times have been in favor of Israel. So all of these things are things that we need to explore, and we need to provide good research, strong research, verified, authenticated research, and evidence to support why we're calling for the expulsion.